Okay, everybody. Thank you all for joining me on our monthly mindset call. This is so exciting for me to get to do this. These are my favorite topics to talk about. I love talking about mindset and mental health. So I am excited to have all of you be joining me live on Zoom and on Facebook. I am ready to get started. I hope everybody can just start by taking a deep breath and have that mental awareness to hopefully absorb some cool new things tonight and make new connections in the mind. And that's what I hope for tonight. In preparation for this call, I have really been pondering a lot of the things that I've been able to manifest into my life thus far. I feel like that is the best place to start. We need to start with the belief that we have the power to direct our life toward the things that we want. And when we look back in our life, we will find all kinds of evidence of how we've actually done that ourselves. So the coolest thing happened last night. I wanted to share, and it's just cool because it really is in line with what I wanted to talk about tonight. So I'm like, oh my God, everything's just so, all these synchronicities is just so exciting for me. So last night I went on a little hike with my daughter. She's 17. And whenever we're together, we always just like to talk about how I was at 17. Like she loves it and I love it. Of course, it's so fun. I get to share all these stories of when I was her age and she just like eats it up. She would just always wants to hear more and more. So it's just a fun little thing that we bond over. And so last night on our way back from the hike, I was playing some songs that reminded me of when I was her age. I'm like, oh yeah, this reminds me of this boy or this boyfriend I had. And then and I'm like, oh yeah, there's this one song I want you to hear. It's a really good breakup song. It's a song that one of my boyfriends after we broke up sent to me, and it was his way of like expressing himself. And I was just like, oh, what is that song? And I kept thinking, what is it? What is it? And she's like, yeah, what is it? And she like really wanted to hear it. So she was like helping me out while I'm driving. She's like searching up different phrases, different bands, different year. And I just couldn't remember who it was that sang it, what the song was called. I knew the year and then kind of the gist of the message. And so I was just having such a hard time remembering the song. And then at that moment, my son calls me and says, hey, can you stop and get some milk at the store? So I'm like, okay. So I run into the grocery store, and on my way into the grocery store, I'm still like racking my brain, like, what are the words? What are the words? It's just like one of those things where it's like, you just, now it's bugging you. You want to know what was the song, and literally I walk in the store and that song was playing. I thought it was the coolest thing because it was like a song that I don't think it was that popular. It was came out in 2000. And what are the odds? Like I just was like, oh my gosh, that is the coolest thing. And I called my daughter. I'm like, because she wanted to wait in the car. I'm like, you will not believe what is happening right now. The song is literally playing. And it was just so, so cool. So anyway, I wanted to share that because it's just one of those cool things that happen in life where it affirms the belief, at least for me, it does, that the power of our minds, and of how we can, receive answers through intention and through asking the universe, and how somehow they come to you in different ways, through people, through songs, through, it's just really cool to see these things happen and the alignment of it all and how it just plays out in life. So when those things happen, it's just exciting and reminds me of the power of our minds. And so, when you look at your life right now, how did you get the house that you're living in now? How did you end up in the relationship that you're in right now? And the kids that you have, and the job, the profession that you've ended up in, like, how did that all come to be? And in the 5 questions interviews that I do with some of our ER Shred community members, I always ask them to share some things that they're most proud of. And it's so fun to hear everyone share what they've accomplished. And it's just always awesome things. And it's just like everybody's so diverse, and the things that they've overcome and that they're proud of and that they've accomplished. It's just so cool to see the power that we all have to create the things that we want. And sometimes we're looking so much forward and as far as what we want to accomplish now, and sometimes we get discouraged, but we forget to look back at what we've already created, all the amazing things that started with one little idea. Now look at what you have. You got kids, you got a house, a spouse, or whatever you have. It's just like, it's really mind-blowing to remember our own power. And a while back I created this thing. It's a I called it my like brag board. It's kind of similar to what I'm talking about. This is just for me to refer back to and remind myself of all the things that I've already like accomplished or overcame, and things that I'm proud of. And so I like to look at that every so often, and especially if I'm ever discouraged around what I'm trying to create now and feeling like, am I capable? So it's good to remember how capable we are and what we've created already. So, like I said, it starts with an idea, a thought, or just a burning desire within you. And so I remember when I was about 21 years old, I was hanging out with one of my friends and telling her about my life growing up. It was pretty crazy. Lots of outrageous things that I could share, and that was just kind of shocking. And I just remember her like sitting there and she's like, wow, you're going to write a book someday. And that one comment sparked a little idea and even a little flame of belief in myself, because I never would have expected anyone to say something like that to me, because I never believed I was smart enough for anything, let alone writing a book. So I always believed that I wasn't very smart. Like, I'd always kind of play the role of the dumb blonde, and people would make dumb blonde jokes, and I just played that ditzy role in part, and I was just like, yeah, I'm not very smart. So I kind of just like, I kind of just went with it, and I didn't believe I was smart, and then I just kind of made it a joke that, yeah, I'm not very smart. And growing up, I moved like every 6 months, so constantly changing schools and curriculums, and there's the adjustment period. And so I definitely see how that affected how I was learning, and always felt behind. I was always in the lowest reading group and often had to go to a separate class to get additional help with my schoolwork and my reading. So that kind of just made me believe that I just was not very smart. I just always had that belief for most of my for the first half of my life. At that time too, I was completely unaware of the growth mindset that Carol Dweck so beautifully reveals. I always believed that my genes determined my potential, and that I was predestined to fail because I didn't really have a lot of evidence within my my sphere of much like success. I just believe that I wasn't one of the lucky ones. I wasn't blessed with any special gifts or talents. And we also couldn't afford to put me into any dance classes or sports growing up. So I never really had opportunities to discover if I was even good at anything. So when my friend said this to me, I just went with it. And I started thinking a lot about it. I started imagining it and brainstorming ideas of what I could possibly write about. And about 5 years after that conversation with her was when I started up the Wanna Be Balanced blog. And then 10 years into that, I got that book written. And it was just one of my like most proud moments to have created something that I never believed I could do, and to just go from thinking that I wasn't very smart to actually like having a book that I wrote myself. It's just really cool. It's just awesome to see how humans are really the only life form that has the ability to direct or change the course of their life. And animals operate purely on instinct. And it's cool to know that we do have that power. We have animal instincts as well, but we also have the power to chart our own course. I did a mindset call a while back on time management, and I just really believe that getting good at planning is the key to manifesting the life that you want. And planning to me is just like, I believe it's one of my superpowers. but it's taken me a long time to find the balance. That's hence the name Wanna Be Balanced, because I loved planning and scheduling things and structure, but I often would over plan. And so that was my strength turning into a weakness. Our weaknesses are strengths overused. So in the beginning of my life, I knew it was like, I loved it, but I always just went too far with it and just over planning, and it became a weakness. And so my quest was to try to find a good balance between going with the flow, but also using what I feel is like benefiting my life so much, which is planning. So I feel like I've honed in on a good sweet spot when it comes to planning out my life. And I just really believe that planning out my future, is really the key to manifesting what we want. It's almost as if we get to mentally practice the things that we're hoping to create. Have you guys heard of the study where they did with the piano? They had two groups of people who could play the piano, but they were learning this new song, and they had one group practice only in their minds. They never could use their fingers to practice the song, but they only practiced it by visualizing it. And then the other group practiced with their fingers, and surprisingly they were almost as equally as good. How it's amazing what the imagination, what the mind can do. And so that's how I feel like when I plan out my day or my week or my month or year, it's a way to mentally practice actually doing those things. So I try to get really intricate with how I'm seeing. So I don't just imagine myself 10 years from now. I'm like, oh, I'm going to have this, I'm going to be doing this. I really like to imagine also the steps leading up to it and mentally practice it. So how am I going to get there? Because we don't always know the how. And that's something that, like, I was saying with the song, these questions that we put out there, the next step will be revealed to us as we start working towards it. So we don't always know the how, but sometimes we know certain steps that it takes to get there. And that's where we can start visualizing and do that mental practicing. Okay, I'm going to share my screen now. I have some fun things I want to show you guys. Tonight's topic is transforming our dreams into reality. So, like I was saying about imagination, as Albert Einstein says, is everything. It is the preview of life's coming attractions. Well, I want you guys to think in your mind, what is it that you want? And why do you want it? Or what problems are you hoping to solve? This is one of the questions that I ask in the interviews for the 5 questions. And I love to hear people describe in full detail what it is that they hope to create within the next 5 to 10 years. I really suggest that people make a habit or a goal to spend at least 5 minutes a day visualizing different things, visualizing your day for tomorrow, visualizing next week, or even just visualizing the 5 or 10 years from now. And, if you think about it, how kids are just so great at imagining things, and it's up to us to rekindle that imagination, that incredible imagination that we once had. We still have it. We just need to dig deep down and find it. It's there. We need to rediscover it. But I just remember playing house was one of my favorite things. I loved imagining myself as a mom, giving my babies a bath, doing laundry, and even hanging clothes out to dry. My favorite part about playing Barbies was just decorating the house. And look at this. This is so funny. So a while ago, Sean found this old Barbie house, and so he brought it home for the kids, but he actually brought it for me because I ended up spending more time with this Barbie house than any of the kids ever did. I just went to work decorating it, and it was so much fun. And it just brought me back to how much fun I used to have when I was, playing Barbies and just decorating and setting things up. That was what I really loved about it. So the next question is, do you believe it's possible? Now, I created a workbook for all of you guys to go with this month's topic, and it's a workbook that you can. I put the link in the group, so if you didn't get it, then I'll repost it here with this video, so you can find it easily. But It's a journal prompt for one or each week of the month. And I thought it would be a fun thing that we do all together as a group, and work through these different questions and even share them in the group, share some things that you're thinking about or writing about. I just think it would be a fun way to interact around this area of what we're all hoping to create in our lives. So in the workbook, it's going to help spark that belief that my friend was able to do for me. And I don't necessarily think that we need someone else to believe in us. I think that we can find that belief within ourselves. It's nice when we have somebody that believes in us, but we don't always have that. So we just have to understand that that's not essential. You don't need somebody else to believe in you. Now, I like to think about, what is your strategy? How are you going to plan this out and begin taking action as soon as tomorrow? And you may not know the how, like I said, but as you can at least brainstorm ideas for the first step, and then you can begin asking yourself and the universe questions and see how these, just like that song, how it's just the question that I put out in the universe and the answer was miraculously revealed to me. And I just see that as something that is possible for all of us as we're trying to find the next step and the next step and following through on those steps. But also be aware of the negative questions. Like, these questions are some that I got really good at throughout my blogging years. I was constantly plagued with self-doubt and discouragement, and always asking the universe, why am I not successful yet? Why is this never working for me? Why am I not good enough? All these things that I didn't even realize at the time that I was asking those questions regularly. And now, being more aware, I have to notice if those thoughts ever come in and stop in its tracks. Don't allow myself to think that anymore. I'm not asking those questions. I don't allow myself to ask those questions. I can only ask the question of how. What's the next step? And just trust that the next step is going to be revealed. And we need to get really good at removing any negative or stressful charge that we have on our desires. You'll never get what you want with that kind of energy. And just like in the other mindset call I did about beliefs, it's about paying attention to the emotional glasses that you're wearing, because those glasses are only going to show you what is in alignment with that emotion that you're currently feeling. So if you're wearing the glasses of lack or insecurity or jealousy or worry or doubt, then your brain will only show you things in your life that supports that emotion. I heard someone once compare it to the algorithms on social media. And, I love how Instagram knows me so well. It's always showing me the things I love most, like cats and plants and bohemian decor. And it's just a lot of fun, right? And, the brain also has an algorithm, and your emotions are what instructs the brain on what to look for. So it's about writing our ideas through to failure. Get good at failing, get comfortable with failing. Think of it as exposure therapy. If you think about how, certain people have phobias with spiders, like I'm really afraid of spiders. I'm not planning to do exposure therapy with that. There's no need. It's not necessary. But if people are really trying to overcome certain fears, they expose themselves to it often, and that helps them see it as not so scary. And that's the same way we can look at failure and realize it's not so scary. It's not bad. And switching our perspective around what we believe failure even means. And it's really an essential part of the equation, because it translates into knowledge. What did we learn from the failure, and how can we do it differently? How can we tweak our approach? Can you give it another shot using the new information that you now have because of the failure? I love the example of Thomas Edison, how he failed so many times, and how his way of looking at it was, I have not failed. I just found 10,000 ways it didn't work. And isn't that cool? Like, he just never gave up, but oftentimes we don't see how many failures it has taken these people before they've actually found what it was that they were looking, or discovered something pretty amazing, or created something. So it's a good reminder that failure is 100% part of the equation. There's no way we're just going to be instant success. So exposure therapy, try to fail, maybe try to fail and be okay with it. We like to compare the journey to putting together a puzzle. So if we remove the emotional stress from actually putting together the puzzle, it can actually be really enjoyable. People do it out of enjoyment, and they don't purchase a 5,000 piece puzzle and work on it with the intention of completing it all in one day. It's something that they revisit and actually find a lot of enjoyment out of the process of figuring it out. So thoughts that we can adapt are things like, it's okay that I don't know because I'm committed to figuring it out. It's not simple, but I can do hard things. I will take action until I figure it out. So figuring out is part of the fun. It's the whole purpose of it. They don't, people who are doing puzzles, they don't look at it and say, when somebody tell me exactly which piece fits with which piece, they don't care about a proven technique to complete the puzzle in less than 24 hours. And they don't seek a special formula. They just go to work trying to match up the right pieces. And, another cool thing happened the other day. I was, so I had this whole class written out, and I had like my bullet points and everything prepared last week for this call. And over the weekend, I was listening to Alan Watts books. Alan Watts, if you're not familiar with him, he's a philosopher from the 60s. In that portion that I was listening to was so cool because he was talking about mathematicians, the upper mathematicians like Isaac Newton. He said they don't care if what they are doing has any practical application. They are working out what they call elegant and beautiful solutions to these puzzles. They can go on and on like that in absorbed meditation. They could spend their whole lives doing it. I just think that's such a beautiful example of how we can be so immersed in the journey and how we're doing it today, and not always be waiting for the result and waiting until we hit this certain goal or this weight or the amount of money until we can allow ourselves to be happy. If we can enjoy it like mathematicians enjoy creating these elegant puzzles, then that's the key right there. When you ask yourself the question of, can you wait 10 years before you get the result that you're hoping for? And the big question is, can you wait a lifetime? And I think if you've answered yes to those questions, then you are absolutely on the right track. And if you can figure out how to aim for the result without actually needing the result in order to be happy and fulfilled, then you've found the sweet spot. What are some things that you're working towards right now? Like one thing specific that you're working towards that perhaps you are struggling to get in the right mindset, or certain things you feel are you having certain obstacles that you're struggling with?
First of all, your sheet, the initial sheet made me realize one of the biggest things I created was I went from full-time financial to teaching voice full-time, and created my own studio, built everything, took out the loans, created a business, developed clientele. And I realized, oh my God, I've done the business thing before, and I forget these things because God knows it's been 15, 20 years. So yeah, now I guess finding the time to do it all is my biggest challenge overall. And also, I was thinking back, I got clients then. They didn't always maybe think they wanted to take music and voice, but somehow I did that. How is nutrition so different? But I do find it's different. I do find and maybe it comes to a little bit of what Lynn was saying about people taking the time for themselves. Like they'll do it for their kids. Lots of kids, students, but they don't do it for themselves. I had a few adults that took and wanted to invest in themselves, maybe sing better at karaoke, but not as much, it's that same thing. Well, I don't want to take from me, and they're kid focused. So I
Hmm.
guess I need help with the time management, not as much as of the goal, but trying to do it all and also stay focused with a good mindset. I don't know if there's any spark or magic that you had that you can share that'll help. So
Okay,
that's
awesome.
what I
That's
got.
great question. I love that. So first, you're finding it challenging to fit in all the things that you want to do, or are you saying that you're frustrated with the people who you're sharing these things with, like Shred? You're frustrated that they are not making the time for themselves. Is that what
Both,
you're saying?
both, both,
Both. Okay.
both of
So you're
those.
struggling to
Yes.
make the time for yourself, but you're also seeing how others are doing that as well. And that makes it
Yeah.
hard when
I mean, it would
sharing.
be easier to take more time on the business if people were biting at it.
Oh,
So that is why I put more time in on the day job, because the side gig isn't, paying enough. In fact, I'm thinking of switching day jobs. That little part is coming up this month. Just I think it was in another group. They said being respected came up in a reading I had. Not being respected on the job, and I'm getting a lot of that. And
mm,
you do want that when you put your all in. You want to get respect or whatever. I
yeah.
get respect and gratitude for what I do when I share. There's always people that I don't have any negativity on anything I share. That's a good thing. But
Hmm.
people just aren't biting at, I want to jump in and, have you help me guide on nutrition? I want to make some changes. Can you help me make some changes? Those are the bites I'm not getting
Mm,
enough of. I mean, I've had a few. I just not getting it as regularly as I used to when I first started out in 2019.
yeah. And that's where we can have trouble when we start comparing certain things with, because we never know how things are evolving, how people are changing. Even social media is so different than it was 5 years ago. And so what was working 5 years ago is just not working anymore. And I think sometimes we get stuck in the mindset that well, this is how I did it 5 years ago. And you start doing that and it's just not working. You're like, this doesn't make sense. And then you start making it mean all kinds of things about either the protocol or yourself or other people. Like, what's wrong with people these days? We start making all kinds of meaning around it. And what I've found to be more beneficial way of looking at it is to first don't allow ourselves to compare how it was working then and it's not now, because um, we have to be adaptive, knowing that there's just something new, a new twist, a new tweak that we need to make. And just like we talked about with the failure aspect and how it's not, it doesn't seem to be working right now, but instead of us putting the focus on, gosh, why isn't it working, and kind of making it mean all of these things and getting frustrated why people aren't making more time for themselves, we turn it around. Because as long as we're in that mindset, we'll never be able to tap into that creative source where we literally have so many creative ideas available to us, but we are blocking ourselves from it as long as we're looking for all the things, the reasons why it's not working. We can look at it, it's about the energy that you're looking at it with. Are you looking at it with discouragement, or are you looking at the information that you have of why it's not working with what you're doing now? Are you looking at it with optimism? Meaning, like, can you look at that and be like, okay, that's not working. What's a new way that I can try? What's a new way is there something new and different that I've never done before that I can brainstorm and open up my mind to new possibilities, and get out of that cycle of that's how I did it then, and I'm just going to keep doing the same thing over and over and over expecting a different result. It's obviously, it's not working. And I get it. I totally understand. There's so many different things that I've
I've
done.
thought of some new avenues. I mean, the funny part is when I used to, so back in the day, okay, I started my music business in 1998. I
Okay.
had computer, but and internet was still there, but not the social media community. So it wasn't the same thing. So I had business cards that were really cool looking business cards. And I got out to events. I got out to events where there were kids. I got out in schools, and met people and
Mhm.
palmed off my business card and talked to people and put on promo events too.
Mhm.
And I'm wondering if it's that person to person thing that might still be needed. And I know we did a lot of person to person more in, pre COVID. We had a lot of exploratory meetings here in Omaha, but
Mm.
I definitely was thinking business cards. One of the things I always, you try to friend somebody on Facebook, but I just think maybe a business card might be a little more professional and maybe have some social media links and have just an exclusive email that they can also reach out to me on and something like that. And also then combine that with the time management and do some online ones too, but try to figure out some networking events or things I can go to here in Omaha where I can get my face out in front of people, maybe get my story out. So I don't
Perfect.
know. I mean, maybe sometimes old school, because sometimes when people are doing on social media, they're just there to surf and read the memes. Are
Mhm.
they really there to improve themselves?
Yeah, exactly. I love to see how you've just instantly shifted to all these ideas and solutions. Like it's really cool when you see how instantly you can switch your mindset to look for potential solutions and or opportunities instead of
It was
looking.
what you said. When you said that, I'm sort of like, you just got my inner brain working. So thank you.
Oh, awesome. That was so fun to hear. Like all of a sudden you just had all these ideas come to you. It's so fun to just explore those. And as you keep asking the question, well, is there a new way of doing it? And then these ideas start to come and you see how they can unfold to trying out those things that those all those awesome ideas that you just came up with as you start working through those and attempting them, trying them out, seeing it as an experiment. Okay, let's see how this works, and you'll be so surprised to see how by you trying that one thing could lead to another idea and then another idea. And as you're on the direction of solutions, you're more solution oriented, and we stop asking the questions of why is it never working, why are people not doing, then and we start asking what are some ways, what's the next step, what are some new ways, and then instantly you see how that channel of creativity opens up and you're like, oh my gosh, I actually have quite a few ideas in there and I think I'm going to try them. It's pretty exciting when you tap into that creative source and you start thinking of solutions, and you don't feel stuck anymore. You kind of feel like, okay, I have an action plan. I have some new ideas. I'm going to attempt them, and I'm excited to try it out tomorrow. Like that, I love when I can shift my mindset into solutions, and then I instantly go from feeling defeated and discouraged to optimism and excitement, and I
I'm
can't.
really feeling excited too. I'm like, okay,
Yay.
we got to do start working on those business cards and get those underway this week and start seeing what events are out there. I've already, with the 5K race, I know like even that had a community out there, which is something I had in South Florida too. By the way, I had that as well with marketing. I had a whole network of people I did races with. So yeah, I'm just sort of sparked, and now it's like I looked ahead with all those other weeks. I've got a lot of stuff to fill in on those other weeks too.
Yeah, well, this is fun. I'm excited to see how these things play out and just see how experimenting and trying new things. It reminds me your question, reminds me of back when I was working with a life coach and I was frustrated with Instagram. It was like 6 years ago and I was really actively pursuing like trying to become an Instagram influencer, and I was just and it was just a big mess, that what I was pursuing, and just wasn't what I was ultimately passionate about. And it wasn't really me, but I was really trying to go that route, thinking like, well, that's pretty cool. I can make money off of Instagram, just posting pictures, and thought that would be cool. But so I was trying to get coached. I was so discouraged, like frustrated, like, why is it never working? Those were the questions I was constantly asking. Why is it never working for me? And then I just remember her
You
saying,
never, I have a friend, guys know I'm in Just a Mile a Day.
yeah.
Um, Rick, Rick Yee, who runs it. Okay, so he had a TikTok
Mm-hmm.
and he posted a video about what women want and how men don't listen to women.
Mm-hmm.
It got over 2 million likes. He has now multiple accounts with millions of followers and has these men's groups he's been running all on, and it was just that one. I mean, he's been doing these videos and promos for years trying to get stuff going. And he goes, it's this silly little thing because my girlfriend was on my mind that night and I was pretty much venting. And all the guys, he goes, it just went viral. So you never know what
Yeah.
does it. I mean, and I'm seeing him reap the rewards because he wants to do self-help for men,
That's
and
cool.
that's his thing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so true. Like, you never know. And also, I was like in such a belief that social media was like the only way. And I didn't realize that I was stuck on that belief. And she helped me realize. She said, social media is not the only way to build a business. And I was like, what? It's not? I just like, I didn't realize that I was believing that that was the only way, because everybody uses social media. So in I locked in this belief, really without realizing it, that social media is the only way to be successful, and you have to be an influencer if you're ever going to be successful. And I'm just like, oh, how did I get stuck in that belief? Even coming from, I didn't grow up with social media. I knew people build businesses before social media. So it's funny how I got stuck in that mindset, and I didn't even realize that I was in it thinking that that was the only way. So I loved when you were just locked in on, I think a lot of people can relate to, they post on Facebook or social media and then they don't get interaction, and they're just like, what's wrong? What's wrong with me? What's wrong? But then, like you said, you made a good point that, like, I don't know if like many people on Facebook are coming to, for that reason. They're coming because they want to look at memes and get a little laugh in, or
And
view
I get
entertain.
reactions, by the way. I get responses. I get 150 people liking my post. I get comments up the wall. I just don't get people biting. They're all just
Mm-hmm.
like, you're doing so great. It's all that. And I'm like, yeah, that's not really what I'm looking for. I've gotten a few people, I might get maybe one here, one or two. And those ones I'm so grateful for, that they join the group or I point them and, get to meet with them. I had one, I'm helping her with her nutrition. So, but
That's
it's far
awesome.
and few between. So thank you. And by the way, the background noise, little girl says hi, even though I'm not on
Oh,
camera, she thinks she is. So she's just
oh,
been
cute.
yabbering to you.
Oh, that's so
So,
cute. Well, I did
so
love
I'll
that. I
let
did
somebody
love that
else
you
talk.
started coming up. I did love what you said about more in-face interaction, because that
Yeah.
I totally agree with you. We definitely need more of that. I think people are craving that more than ever. So if we could go back to our roots when it comes to remembering all the face-to-face interactions that we used to be our normal, try to go back to that a little bit. Like, I still love social media, it's been so helpful, but maybe we could look back a little bit and remember our roots, and how that face-to-face real life interaction was actually really important for us.
Yep, definitely. I'll let somebody else go. I know you got a few more minutes.
Okay, sure. Yeah, is there anybody else? We got like five more minutes. We could maybe talk with somebody else that might have a question. And if
I got one.
okay. Hey, Brent.
You can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you.
So why don't you prompt me and let me know where I begin?
Okay. So I know that you're a dad, and you're also trying to build a business, right? Build a ER Shred business. I can't hear you. Can you hear me? Oh, maybe we lost
Yeah,
it. Oh, can
correct.
you hear me? Oh, maybe it's really delayed because I couldn't hear you for a
Sorry,
really long
I
time.
have maybe. How about now? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, and I can see you now.
Okay. So yeah, all those
Okay.
things are correct.
Is there anything right now that you feel has been like a kind of a mindset, maybe a mindset block, or you're a little bit discouraged or struggling with something in particular that we could talk about?
I am.
Okay.
So I got out of my career of 25 years pre-COVID. I was a restaurant owner with my family, and so I've been struggling to find a new career, and it's just been really challenging
Yeah.
to
Have
find
you
something I
started?
want to get into.
Okay. So your main focus right now is to try to find a new career path.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Is there anything in particular that you've already started working on or exploring?
Um, to be honest, no.
So you're
I
just like, are
haven't.
you in a place where you're not sure what you would be interested in, or you're not sure what would be like beneficial for your family, like, or
Yeah, exactly.
okay.
I don't want to start something and hate it. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
feel like, you know what, I made a mistake. Like, I
Yeah.
don't want to be stuck somewhere just for a paycheck. And
Yeah, for sure. Do you have any ideas to explore, like any potential things that you might want to try, or just seems interesting in any way? Anything perked your interest at all?
um, I mean, I'm really into, you know, what we do in ER Shred. I
Mm-hmm.
love uh, health and wellness space. Um, so I really, you know, I saw myself just, you know, going into that and
Mm-hmm.
learning as much as I can about health and wellness and around what we do in the group. And so that really piques my interest.
Close the door. No, right now. Go out and close the door. Sorry.
And
I don't know where Sean is.
it's okay.
So
I'm good at a lot of things. That's the problem.
yeah.
You know, if I put my mind to it, I can do things.
Mm-hmm. So you're afraid of wasting time. You're afraid of choosing the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I like to believe.
Even if I choose something, you know, my family or somebody close to me telling me they're disappointed in me because I chose this path, you know,
Mm-hmm.
those things are in
Yeah.
my mind.
Oh, you're worried about what your family will think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I see how we could dive into this in a few different ways, and I would love to. One thing that I was hoping to do within the ER Shred community is do like a monthly or bi-weekly group coaching session, where so we won't be doing like a class, but we just come on. It doesn't even have to be live, but we can get together and go into some of these things, because I would love to go into that. Like, I feel like we could really go with that in a lot of different angles. But I would love to do it with a little bit more time. I like to stick with the exact hour that we say that we're going to do. But one thing I do want to leave you with, but again, I hope that we can, I'll contact you and we'll schedule something where we can get together, and I'll post in the group where we can try doing a separate coaching session, group coaching session, where we can go into more of these types of things. But one thing that I like to offer is just a new way of looking at things. And it's like trying on a hat or trying on a pair of shoes. And it's really not about affirmations necessarily, like, well, all you have to do is just think positive. It's really about trying on different ways of seeing things or believing, and seeing how it feels, seeing how the shoes fit. And if it's a good fit, then you could practice, looking at things in that way, through that lens. But sometimes, certain affirmations don't always work. They have to resonate on some level. So what I like to suggest when it comes to the fear of making the wrong decision and choosing having any regrets. And what I like to believe is that there really are no regrets. Just like we talked about failure, we learn things from it. So no matter what you choose, you're going to learn something from it, something about yourself, even that could actually provide more clarity as far as the direction that you want to go. So by just deciding first and foremost to pick one thing and take action, then we're not, waiting in indecisiveness and not actually able to make a decision because we're afraid of making the wrong decision. But if we just decided no decision is the wrong decision, and I'm just going to make a decision today, and I'm going to take the next step tomorrow, but I know that I'm not committing to do this forever, and I'm going to learn something from it. And maybe this might even lead me to the next avenue that feels even better for me. So I feel like it's beneficial to not sit in indecisiveness, to make a decision knowing that no decision can possibly be the wrong decision, because you will always gain new insights, new information, and new understanding about yourself and what you ultimately want. So there really is no downside.
Crystal,
Yeah.
I would be interested in also joining that small group
Okay.
myself, because there's a specific short time frame that I'm going to have to work with pretty soon, but I don't know enough about what that looks like right now. So right now I'm just having a lot of stuff that comes and goes, and I'm not able to really even focus on it because there's too many unknowns. But I would love to meet with you and Brent in a small group.
Okay, let's do it. I'm going to contact you and Brent. And then if anyone else would like to join us on this group session, then let me know and we'll set something up. But you guys, thank you so much for joining me.
I'm interested too, Crystal, by the way.
Okay,
Sarah.
awesome. I will for sure contact you as well, Sarah. So thank you guys. And I will see you again next month. But also, I hope that we can interact in the group about these weekly journal prompts that I have in the workbook, and we can talk about those things. But again, thank you guys, and we will see more of you in the group.
Thank you so much. Good night, everybody.
Show everybody that was